All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to look at three ancient readings, and they all circle around one really huge question. What does it actually mean to truly see? We're talking about more than just what's in front of our eyes. It's about seeing a much deeper truth. So let's get into it.
And really, that's the core question we're tackling here. When we talk about seeing, do we just mean, what our eyes can physically perceive? Or is there something more going on? These texts really push back on our simple, everyday idea of what vision even is.
Okay, so to get started, we need a little context. These readings are all tied to a very particular day, the fourth Sunday in the season of Lent. And this Sunday has a pretty special name and a whole lot of meaning behind it. It's called Laetare Sunday. Laetare is just Latin for rejoice. So you can think of it like this little pocket of joy, this burst of light and hope, right smack in the middle of what's usually a pretty solemn season. And that whole idea of light? Yeah, you're going to want to hang on to that because it's super important for what comes next. So our first story comes from the book of First Samuel, and it throws us right into this high-stakes situation. The prophet Samuel has been sent on a mission from God to anoint the next king. The only problem? He has no idea who he's supposed to pick. And this is where it gets really interesting. Samuel does what any of us would do, right? He looks at the lineup of sons and sees the oldest, the strongest, the one who just looks like a king. But God keeps saying, nope, not him. Why? Well, it's all about two different ways of seeing. Samuel is stuck on the outside stuff, the appearance. But God is looking way deeper, at the heart, at someone's true character, all that hidden potential. And this is the punchline of the story. God totally skips over all the obvious choices and picks David, this young shepherd boy that nobody even bothered to call in from the fields. It just drives home this powerful idea. True divine vision isn't about the surface level. It's about seeing the real truth that's hidden inside. Okay, so if God sees us that way, looking past the surface, what does that mean for us? How are we supposed to live? Well, our next reading, from the letter to the Ephesians, tackles that exact question. Paul basically lays out this incredible three-part journey. First, he says you have to awaken, realize where you've been. You were once darkness. Simple as that. The next step is to rise, understand who you are now. Now you are light in the Lord. But, and this is the key part, it's not just about a change in status. The third step is to live. It's an action, a command. Live as children of light. It's like he's saying, okay, now go let that inner light that God sees actually shine for everyone else to see. And that brings us to our final reading from the Gospel of John. This is where that whole metaphor of light and dark, seeing and blindness, stops being a metaphor and becomes incredibly, shockingly real. We're talking about a dramatic face-to-face between Jesus and a man who was born blind. So the scene opens with this man who has spent his entire life, from the moment he was born, in total physical darkness. I mean, just try to imagine that. He's never seen a sunrise, a face, anything. And then the miracle happens. Jesus heals him. And just like that, he can see. For the very first time, light is pouring into his world. But believe it or not, that's not even the main point of the story. It's just getting good. Because as this man starts trying to tell people what happened to him, something else starts to click into place. He begins to understand who Jesus is. His physical sight was just the beginning. The real miracle is that he gains spiritual sight. He doesn't just see with his eyes, he truly sees. And here's the crazy twist in the story. The religious leaders, the ones with perfect 20/20 vision, the ones who are supposed to be the experts, they grill this guy. They absolutely refuse to believe what happened. They can't see the truth that's literally standing right in front of their faces. And in that moment, it becomes clear. The ones who can physically see are actually the ones who are spiritually blind. So what's the takeaway here? How do all three of these stories, the hidden king, the call to awaken, and the blind man, all fit together? Well, when you line them up, they paint this really clear picture of what it means to be children of light. Let's break it down. First, Samuel tells us that God sees what's really inside us, our inner truth. Then Ephesians comes along and says, okay, now you need to wake up and live like that's true. And finally, the story from John shows us what that looks like in action, proving that real sight, well, it's a spiritual thing, not just a physical one. So we're not going to end with a neat little conclusion. Instead, let's finish with this prayer that really wraps up everything we've talked about. It's a request, really, to have our own eyes opened in every sense of the word. And it kind of leaves us with a question to chew on, doesn't it? In a world that's so obsessed with how things look on the outside, how do we learn to see with the heart? How do we actually live as children of light?